What is going on, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Today, we're going to be talking about 5 gods that I think need buffs and need buffs badly. I'm going to try to do one from every role. Maybe if I think of another one, maybe I toss like 2 in for one of them, but it's going to be one from every role. So then nobody feels left out because they don't want anyone feeling left out. Jumping right in, going top to bottom, assassins, starting with Suki. I think he is in a horrible, horrible spot. The only time we've ever really seen Suki be strong is the meta when Aegis was actually bugged with beads, so it was removed from the game. In that meta, Suki went rampant. But in a game that revolves around beads and revolves around Aegis, your kits kind of have to be built around that. An all-in character that has no forms of survivability when he does go all-in needs to be either able to kill or to live and kite out. Suki kind of has neither of those options. When he ults in, a lot of times, they'll just eat the beam damage because it's too low, and then they'll Aegis the dash damage and just one-shot him when he comes in because he's kind of given up his spacing and he's just going to be getting one-shot by the mage or the hunter at that point. I think that Suki needs a little bit of repositioning of this damage. I think beam should maybe be 40 or even this out a little bit. I think the dash damage should still be most of it, but I think beam being 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, and then maybe 20%, 25% of your physical power, and then the dash damage going down by 10 at all ranks, and then down by 10% of your physical power. It's still the dash damage that's most of it, but the beam damage is still something that is scary, and maybe sometimes if they're half health, they have to Aegis the beam damage. The Suki can't even get brought in. I also think his 2 should be brought back to being knockup immune. It was a little frustrating when he came out, but his 1 was like an 8-second cooldown when he came out. His 2 did like 1,000 damage, and his 3 also did like 1,000 damage, and then his ult did like 5,000 damage. So his kit was just a lot different. I think if they bring back the Kusarigama knockup immunity, I think it will also make him feel a lot better. It'll give him a form of threat onto a god that doesn't have at least some semblance of CC that's not a knockup. Next up, Osiris. And I just want to show you guys this quick. Osiris, 42% win rate with a 1.7% pick rate. He is far and away the worst god in the game. And it's not even like he's good at the top end. Oh no, he's dog across the board. This is a high skill ceiling god, and even at that high skill ceiling, he is not good. I think they have to revert, even partially, the change to his 3. Osiris relies on getting into close range, and at 20% damage reduction, you don't really mitigate enough to be able to threaten them with your damage. At 20%, it's just a little bit too low where they're doing good damage to you, and you're still doing just about no damage to them because of how bad auto attack warrior items are right now for the most part. You can't even go Kins anymore as an item. I don't know if you guys have paid attention to this change. Kins used to be 2.5% scaling up to 6%. It is now 1.5%. Your Kins will be doing like 13 damage to squishies. So Osiris, I think, needs a little bit of extra tankiness with his 3, and then I also think his 1 cooldown should go down to 5 seconds again. The past 2 nerfs that he got was this cooldown being 5 seconds, brought up to 6, his 2 being 10 seconds up to 11, and then his 3 being, I think it was 15 up to 35%, and now it's 10 up to 20%. I think even 10 up to 30% back to where it was originally, even before the other buff, I think it would make him feel a whole lot better. He can actually reduce some of the damage when he goes in, and then threaten a little bit more with Sickle Strike being on a slightly less cooldown. Going into Guardians, there's a pretty obvious choice here, and I'm skipping over that choice. We'll let the man sleep in peace. We're going to talk about Serb. This character used to feel very, very good in support, and then they moved a lot of his strength from his 2 to his 1. His 2 used to be this massive protection shred. It used to be up to, I think it was 56%. I think it was 18 or it was 19 maybe. It was something very high, and it made him feel very, very strong. You had a way to play the game where late game you'd play front to back, and then whoever went in, whether it was the frontliner or a squishy, you would basically shred all their protections or shred half their protections if it was a tank. And it made him feel very, very strong. Now he shreds 39 protections, which, don't get me wrong, is very good. But it is flat protections, so it's really only relevant against squishies. If somebody's diving into your backline with 300 protections and you're shredding 39 of them, he's going to be giggling up a storm and saying, "You're doing nothing to me, dumb support." And that's one of the reasons I think Serb actually feels so bad. He's a god that relies on killing the guy that he is hitting with his ghastly breath and his paralyzing spit. A lot of the times, he doesn't really help that too much. He does have the CC from his 1, but it's a skill shot, so I think you need to be rewarded from it. His 2, however, on the other hand, he just gets knocked up out of it or dashed away from, or he just maybe misses a couple ticks or something. Something is happening where it's very rare that he's even getting these 3 stacks on anyway. I think they should buff it back up. Even starting it at 15 if you wanted to, and then slowly creeping it back up, I think will make him feel way, 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 way better. And this one is for the crowd begging for a revert. I don't think she needs a revert, but I do think she needs some love, mostly on Bone Rush. I like playing Persephone. Congrats, Ribbon. You won 10,000 gems. Love that, Iris. Persephone, she needs some love. I think she has a really, really fun play style. I think it's cool that she has like a couple poke tools. She has a lot of area control. She does lack a little bit in the AoE sense, but I think that's fine when she has a lot of one-shot potential and just area control. Her 2 is super cool. Her 1, however, on the other hand, is so bad and annoying to use that you use it one time, it messes up, and then you're like tilted from using it. So the 1 actually stops on the first god hit or the first wall hit. Both of those as options feel terrible. If you hit a wall, you're doing no damage to anyone. If you hit a god, you're doing damage to one person and slowing them. To increase her area damage a little bit, they should be removing the slow, because they've stated before that you cannot have the slow because it's a projectile that comes from the 1 on top of, is it the skull or a flower or whatever? Yeah, it's the flower or the skull that comes out of the 1. That would have to be removed. But I think that is a win for Persephone. Let her 1 go through gods, let it go through walls, so she can actually have that threat again onto multiple members. Because right now, her only threat into multiple members is Harvest. And Harvest is mostly slightly poke, and then it just spawns your plants that you can also just push through. I think making her 1 do a little bit more AoE damage helps her entirely, and I think it's a big buff to her kit that will help her a ton. Next up, one of the OGs, Apollo. Another god that is just incredibly fun to play, but has some points that are just super frustrating. His ult costs an arm and a leg every time you use it. If you back, ult in, or if you ult over to a fight, 99% of the time, you're nearly out of mana by the time you get there, and it feels terrible. Reduce the mana that it takes to cross the map. I should be able to cross the map and not using my entire health bar. If it punishes you, like, the more you spend up in the air for, like, the, what was it, like the UAV Apollo, where you just sit in the air permanently and just permanently get vision of the enemy, have it slowly creep up. Have it start at like 10, and then 20, and then 30, and then 40, and then 50, and then so on and so forth. So you're not just getting punished instantly off the rip, or even 5 scaling up, or whatever it is. Just make it so it doesn't feel as punishing in the early portion of your Apollo ult. Secondly, I think his ult is just kind of the weakest part of his kit. I think his 1, 2, 3 is manageable. They're not great, but you'd kind of have to buff all of them individually to make him feel as a great character. I think across this guy, if you ult into a fight and you hit an enemy god, so if you just ult in and hit an enemy god, I think you should get 2 stacks of audacity instantly. And I think that would mean 10 basic attacks of 100% attack speed buff. To make it so Apollo is actually ulting in if he's hitting somebody, it gives him a good opportunity to 1v1 them. I think he ults in a lot of the times, and he just kind of gets blown up, because if he ults into the enemy's backline, he's going to be ulting onto the hunter, the mage, that are either going to have some form of CC or just a lot of damage. And because of the casting time and the after cast time of landing in the ult, you can't immediately start to auto attack. It feels very rough in 1v1s. If they do beads it, they'll just beads and kill you. Giving him 2 passives in a row for 10 auto attacks of 100% attack speed would make it feel a little bit more beneficial, where if you did ult in and you did get their beads, you'd have just a lot of auto attacks to maybe punish them with. But there it is. There is 5 gods that I think need buffs, and the buffs that I would do for them. I hope you guys know the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.